Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Carolyn Coker-Ross, and we're talking again about emotional eating. So, on today's video, I'll be talking to you about the definition of emotional eating and also the difference between emotional hunger versus physical hunger. And then finally, why emotional eating is so important for you to pay attention to. So I mentioned in the last podcast that many people feel that their emotions are overwhelming. And then there are other people who may have completely shut down their emotions and have no access. They can't even identify what it is they're feeling at any given time. But both reactions to emotional pain are really flip sides of the same coin. Attempts to escape from emotions or from what I call the emotional soup. When you're stuck in the emotional soup, you may feel that your emotions are in charge, kind of like your emotions are in the driver's seat and you're trying to make a left turn. Very difficult to do, right? And you can also emerge from the emotional soup, but that requires you to be able to identify, express, understand, and very importantly, regulate your own emotions. So that means instead of going off on your husband because you've had a bad day at work, you need to learn skills to help you be able to regulate your own emotions. Because as you know, going off on your husband kind of may relieve the pressure, but often causes guilt or shame later on, which can lead to overeating. And that's what we're trying to avoid, trying to overcome. So patterns of emotional expression are very similar, interestingly, to patterns in your relationship with food. For example, you may be a person who skips meals all day, and that's similar to kind of withholding your emotions. Or you may be somebody who, just eats a little bit all throughout the day, similar to just giving a little bit of yourself emotionally in your relationships. So think about that for a moment and see how your emotional expression is mirrored by your relationship with food. Now, as I mentioned, many people have difficulty expressing emotions, usually because they have a judgment about themselves or they're afraid that other people will judge them. And and particularly for certain emotions. So some people are afraid to express anger or don't want to show vulnerability, for example. And those are emotions then that they will tend to hold back on for whatever reasons. So you also may feel that you'll be judged as being weak if you express sadness, for example. But the question that really needs to be addressed when we talk about emotional eating is, what are you really hungry for? And I think of it kind of like, what if your emotions are the breadcrumbs that can lead you to the secret meaning behind your hunger? When you eat emotionally, if you're able to pay attention to these breadcrumbs, you may gain some insight into what you're feeling emotionally and why you're wanting to push those feelings down. So I mentioned that I would tell you about two different kinds of hunger. Well, natural physical hunger, you may have signs of physical hunger, such as emptiness in your stomach or lightheadedness or a hungry headache, or you may feel hangry even, as you know, hungry and angry. And this type of hunger is completely satisfied when you eat. So that's pretty simple and not too difficult to discern. Emotional hunger, however, is when you're craving all the foods usually that you've deprived yourself of, or foods that you tend to binge on. And while there's nothing wrong with eating what I call tasty treats, your inability to forego these foods or to stop compulsively overeating them is a sign that you may be using these foods, not just for their taste, but for emotional reasons. So usually when that's the case, people consume these foods even when they're not hungry. And oftentimes they're not even enjoying what they are eating. I have people tell me all the time, well, I just love donuts. Well, I just love mac and cheese or whatever your favorite comfort food is. But when I ask them to tell me what they love about it, it usually comes back to that they love how that food makes them feel. So they love feeling like they're being rewarded, feeling like they're taking a break or escaping from the stress of the day. So that's, you can see now that is a link, a clear link between the cravings and, and certain foods. And why you're craving them is because of how they make you feel emotionally. So, emotional hunger because you're eating food out of want, out of desire, or because of cravings or as a reward. And even after you eat the foods, you may not still feel full. So you can't fix emotional hunger with food. You can't fix your emotions with food. Emotional hunger is not about the food. So ask yourself, what would be missing in your life if you could no longer turn to these specific foods to deal with your problems, your stress, or your emotions? What would be different? What would be missing for you? And that's the breadcrumb that I'm telling you about. If you can come up with what would be missing, that's a clue to what you're really hungry for. Now, we've been conditioned to believe that you have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain size, you have to, fill in the blank, whatever it is, to deserve the life that you really want. And we've been taught by the media, our families, society, that if you're living in a larger body or if you're different in any way from what society deems as acceptable. So if you're gay, if you're of a certain race or religion or political affiliation, that means you can't have what other people have. And most importantly, what you may desperately want. So each of us has within us a longing for our best life, our dream life. And what is confusing is that we've equated these superficial qualities of appearance and size, for example, with what they represent for us in terms of our dreams, our best life. For example, if you believe you have to be thin in order to have a relationship that you long for, you may have forgotten what you're really longing for, which is the feeling of intimate connection and how that would fill your heart. If you've not been able to reach the weight that you desire, you may have closed yourself off to any chance of that relationship happening unless or until you are thin. In essence, your dreams are postponed or even shut down, waiting for you to have what you call the perfect body. So this is what leads to emotional eating. And I just want to remind you that it looking for those insights, looking for those breadcrumbs, and asking yourself, what is the dream you're craving? And share it in the comment box. I'd love to know what is the dream that you're craving. And now I'd just like to do a short guided process that may help you be able to get in touch with the dream that you're craving. So just put your feet flat on the floor, uncross your hands or legs. Make sure you're in a place where you won't get interrupted. And just take a couple of deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And let's do that 2 more times together. Now on the next breath in, just move your neck from side to side very gently. Let your shoulders move away from your ears. Continue to pay attention to your breathing. Just allow your upper back to move. Smooth your shoulders front and back. Just do a big yawning stretch. Now just allow your hips, your belly, your legs, and your feet to feel very heavy where you're sitting. Just imagine your body melting and being very heavy and totally relaxed. Now just, if you can, bring up perhaps the last episode in which you had emotional overeating. Remind yourself of where you were and what foods you gravitated towards. Now, don't allow any judgment, guilt, or shame to come into the picture. If they do come in, imagine them flowing like a leaf on a stream away from you. You don't have to pay attention to them. Now, as you're eating your favorite comfort food, just notice the feeling that it gives you. Is it a feeling of reward? Is it a feeling of relief? Is it a feeling of rebelliousness or anger? Just take a moment to get in touch with your feelings as you're imagining and remembering your last episode of emotional overeating. And what does recognizing the emotion associated with this overeating episode, what does it mean to you? If, for example, your episode was all about getting a reward for work, a hard day at work, or a stressful day, what are you really craving? Are there other ways to get reward than through food? What would feel so good to you as a reward or in replacement for the comfort you get from food or whatever emotion the food brings you? What are you really hungry for? What are you really hungry for? And just allow whatever comes to mind to come up. No judgment, no second guessing. What are you really hungry for? What is the dream you're craving? Maybe it's more connection in a relationship. Maybe it's a decrease in loneliness or having more friends. What are you really craving? What are you really hungry for? Now, as the answer comes to you, I'm going to ask you to take another deep breath in and just allow that dream to be breathed in your in-breath and move into every cell in your body. Starting at the top of your head, feel the tingling in the cells of your face, the back of your scalp, your neck, your throat, and feel that dream moving into the cells in your shoulders, out your arms, into your hands. And with the next in-breath, feel the dream tingling in the cells of your chest and your upper body, your upper back, your waistline, your belly, and your hips. And with the next in-breath, move your dream into the cells of your thighs, your knees, your lower legs, your feet, and out through the bottoms of your feet to anchor in the center of the earth. Just another deep breath now. feeling the tingling throughout your body, moving through your feet into the center of the earth where it is grounded. And then when you're ready, slowly bring yourself back to the room where you're sitting and open your eyes. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this process with you. And I hope it's helped you to understand and get in touch with something beneath the food that you're really hungry for. In the next video, we will be talking about how to use your body's natural wisdom to help overcome emotional eating. And coming up soon is the start of the next Anchor program, which is an online 12-week non-diet program for people with binge eating, food addiction, and emotional eating. And if you want more information, you can go to anchorprogram.com. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.